It was September 16th, 2011. I was walking Ethan out to the bus stop. At the time, I was working part-time at a grooming salon. On our way out to the bus, he picks this little yellow flower, and it's called a lantana, and he hands it to me. It says, "I love you, Mommy." And he bebops off onto the bus, and I go to the grooming salon I was working at. This particular day was a very special day because as soon as I got off of work, we were gonna go pick Kyle up and we were going to head to Walt Disney World for the weekend. And the reason why we were going is because it was Ethan's birthday on Monday. He was turning 7, and so we wanted to spend the weekend celebrating him in Orlando. So while I'm at work, it's a super busy day. Everyone is slammed. I finally get my last dog done, and my coworker asked, she was like, "Hey, do you think you want to take on an extra dog? I've got to get going." I'm like, "No, it's Ethan's birthday. I've got to get home because we've got to get on the road." And so I had already packed the car, got home, got the boys, our son Ben, who was 13 months old at the time, loaded them up into the car. We drove to where my partner Kyle was working at the time, Gordon Food Service. We picked him up, and after we picked him up, we stopped and got a big gulp. They used to have at the local gas station. They had these massive drinks, and we all got our big gulp, and we headed out on our way. A few minutes into the drive, I really wanted to get Ben to go to sleep, our youngest, and so I turned off the DVD player in our minivan behind the headrest, and Ethan asked, he's like, "Mom, could you please turn that back on? I really need to be distracted for this ride." I thought nothing of it and just left his player on. Well, 15 minutes into our ride, I'm on my phone sitting crisscross just like this in the front seat. My shoes are off, and I hear Kyle say, "Oh shit." And I look up, and there is this really big vehicle coming straight at me and my family. And we're on I-4, and what you have to understand is on I-4, there's just these little small guard wire rails, and that was all that was stopping us from this oncoming vehicle. Before I knew it, I saw my life flash before my eyes. The cliche is true, because I felt the impact. I felt everything spin around me, and then I felt it all come to a stop. I looked to my left, and my partner Kyle was okay. He was moving. He had blood coming out of him. His whole side of the car was crashed in. I heard Ben crying, and I knew Ben was okay. He was sitting behind me. He was our 13-month-old. But I didn't hear Ethan. And I turned around, and all I could really see was his little Reebok ZigTech shoes, and they weren't moving. And so I was barefoot, threw open my door, and I ran around the side of our Chrysler Town and Country minivan. And I saw what was left of Ethan. And that image of seeing him the way that I did lives with me forever. That was what gave me my PTSD. And so at this point, in the movies, when they say that everything around you stops. It's just you. And the whole world is spinning, but your world is stopped. And in that moment, I looked to one side and I could see blue skies. And I looked to the other side and I could see a forest. And then I saw this person who had stopped their car and they had gotten out. And the iPhones were like the iPhone 4 maybe at this point. And he had his iPhone and he was taking a picture of Ethan. That man was taking a picture of my son. And so they were able to get him quickly covered up. There was a lot of innocent bystanders, and they came rushing over, and they thrust Ben into my arms. Ben had a little cut on top of his head, and they thrust Ben into my arms. And I was holding him because I was about to run after that man. And I remember they put Ben there, and they were cutting Kyle out of the car. They were cutting him out of the car. And they got him into an ambulance and the sirens were going off and I had no idea if he was okay or not. I was holding my 13-month-old. Both him and I were all right. Ethan was gone. They put me into this ambulance with Ben because they said we needed to go get checked out and they were going to take us to the hospital. I had nobody. And I can remember the ambulance driver was so sweet. Young kid. He was very young. Such a sweet kid. And he was helping make Ben laugh because he blew up this glove. He blew up this glove and he was making it into like this thing. And that moment is just one that I'll remember forever because someone took the time to help me in a moment that my world was shattered. So here I was, a 24-year-old, right? A 24-year-old. That husband is being rushed to the hospital, just lost her son. She has her other son in her lap, and she's on the way to the same hospital because she doesn't know what is awaiting her. I don't know how Kyle's doing. And we get there. They rush us inside, and Kyle's in the ICU, the triage, and he's so bloody and battered, and he doesn't know yet about Ethan. Because you see, Kyle was Ethan's stepdad. Kyle and I started dating when Ethan was 18 months old, and really, for all intents and purposes, Kyle was Ethan's dad. And that news was going to be really hard to deliver. If you've seen my other blog about abandonment, I'll link that in the description. It goes into more detail about, kind of being abandoned by my parents, and I tell the story of being in the hospital. But that was that moment of my life, losing Ethan, that cracked me open forever. Without that moment, I would not be who I am sitting here today. And I believe in my heart of hearts that everybody has a time to be born and everybody has a time that they're going to die. It's just the reality. And that was Ethan's day. That was Ethan's time to go. Nothing I could have done could have changed that, not even taking on that extra dog and leaving later, because what happened was done, and there's no going back. That's why hindsight is 2020. That first 6 months after losing him, and if you're struggling through loss right now or have experienced grief of any kind, because listen, no grief is greater than the other because they all suck. My grief isn't greater than your grief. Not at all. We're here to share in the struggle of it, not be in competition of whose grief is greater. Because that first 6 months was a blur, an utter blur. Here I was, a 24-year-old who now has to plan a funeral for her baby. I'm in the hospital. Kyle ended up spending 6 days in the hospital. He had a brain bleed, a ruptured spleen, a few broken ribs. He was in critical condition for a bit there, but he made it. And Ben and I were okay. But that next 6 months, I'm so grateful for the people that I had in my life. So many people loved me. I don't remember so many people that were there, but they loved me. Like at Ethan's funeral, I had my group of people that were just there, you know. So if you're growing through grief and loss right now, hold the people around you tight. If someone offers to take you out to coffee, take them up on that. That got me through the last almost 14 years of this grief journey that I'm on. This grief journey hasn't been easy by any stretch of the means. It has been the absolute hardest thing I have ever had to do in my whole life because it's affected everything. Grief affects everything. And the opposite of grief is love. You know, now freshly into PTSD and having to navigate all of that, looking back, the only way that I know that I did that was putting one foot in front of the other. Some days were so hard on giving up. I wanted to give up so bad. Every day that I wanted to give up, Ethan's face popped in my mind. Don't give up, Mommy. You gotta keep going. Don't give up, Mommy. So, to combat my grief, I used love. Because I never knew what love was until grief found me. I thanked God every day for my little family that I had. I was so grateful. I gave gratitude. I prayed every night. And still, this happened. How did this happen? There was a period where I was so mad. Oh, I can remember just after the accident happened, standing in the hospital bathroom, and I screamed at the top of my lungs. I grabbed that sink. Why? Why? Why my family? As loud as I could. And you know what else I said? I spoke straight to God. And I said, I fucking hate you. I said, I hate you. Oh. I know if you know grief, if you know loss, you know that hate. You know that anger inside of you. Because it's not fair. It's not fair that Ethan got taken. And you know, I think with grief, it's finding balance. It's finding your calm in the chaos. God, it's such a journey. For 13 years, almost 14, I've been on this deep grief journey. And I can tell you that peace is possible. Peace after grief is possible. You want to know how I know? Because I did it. I found it. You know, I can have moments like this where you come over and we sit and we chat and I can talk about my grief. And I can talk about the struggles and the pains and the loss. And somehow, I am still okay. I am okay because of love. I am okay because I allowed grief to consume me. I allowed it to force me into my shadow and heal so much trauma. Not just trauma of this, but trauma of my childhood, trauma in my marriage, trauma in parenting. I used this grief to heal so much shit. And I'm so grateful that I saw Ethan's face every time I wanted to give up. And he said, "No, Mama, you can't give up." And today, this is your sign. You can't give up. In whatever your struggle is right now, friend, you cannot give up because you matter. You have a purpose here. You do. You have a purpose on this earth. You don't have to allow your grief to consume you. You don't have to allow it to make you sink into despair. You can heal. I'm going to share something with you that is my absolute number one thing that helped heal my soul. And it's free. The one thing that helped truly heal so much grief was getting outside in nature, taking off my shoes, and breathing. Taking conscious breaths. 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. And by the time I did a few reps of these, I felt clarity again. I felt okay again. I was in my driver's seat. Grief didn't take over. So maybe if you're struggling today, try that. Try going outside, getting barefoot, and breathing. You know, I'm going to talk a lot more about my grief on the days that you come over and hang out with me. I want to share in it and share in the things that I've done to help grow. I want to help guide you to your path to peace. You don't have to agree with everything. Take what feels aligned from you coming over and leave what doesn't. We don't have to agree on each other's lifestyles to send each other love. The criticism, judgment, blame, shame isn't welcome here because we all have a past. We've all done hard things. We've all done things that we will definitely choose to do differently. So, in your words that you write me, because I read them all, what you say, I want it to be something that you would say to yourself. Because it's about respect here. And I treat you with respect. And I expect the same in return. This space that we're creating together, this is a safe space. This is a place where we can share in big emotions, where you can come over to my bus and feel safe. You can feel valid. You can feel seen. You can feel heard. Let's share in the struggles together. Love. Love is the way to grow. I'm so grateful you came over today. Thank you for listening to my grief journey, part of it. If you feel called or comfortable, I would love for you to share yours in the comments too. Even if I'm not able to answer, I heart it. And in that moment, as I'm reading your words, I send you love, no matter if it's a negative or positive comment. So please, if you feel called, share your story. You're not alone. And we're going to grow down the road together. Thank you for being here and being you. I hope your day is just as beautiful as you are. I love you. Grief can be heavy. And when you share, it makes it much more light.